Hi guys, Aaron here with Ghost Raptor Gaming and Guns, and today up for review we have the Glock 19 Gen 5 in 9mm. Now, first things first, we're going to make sure that the gun is clear and there is no ammunition present, so we are good to go. The second part that I like to get to is transparency. What is my relationship with Glock? I don't have a relationship with Glock. They didn't send me this gun or anything like that. In fact, I didn't even buy this gun, which is something that I normally do. This gun was actually provided to me by American Firearm School, who is the sponsor of today's video. So let's talk about it. Today's video is brought to you by American Firearm School. American Firearm School is a full-fledged range located in North Attleboro, Massachusetts, and I've been a member there for about 3 years now. I have to say, I love it. They have clean facilities, super friendly staff, a wide variety of firearms, not only for sale, but to rent as well. And they have a wide variety of accessories, magazines, ammunition, ear and eye pro, targets, you name it, they've got it. Now they offer a wide variety of services for both members and non-members, including classes. There's a lot of different versions of the classes that they offer, but one of them would be a learn to shoot. So if you're new to firearms, it's a good way to get into it. In fact, I attended a learn to shoot just for the heck of it, and I have to say I was blown away. The instructor was super humble, yet professional and laid back, and he did a really good job of making sure that everybody absorbed what they needed to learn so they could shoot not just safely, but accurately as well. If those kind of group settings aren't exactly for you, well, you're in luck, because they have private lessons available as well. So you can go to your learn to shoot, you can go to your CCW course to learn how to defend yourself with a firearm, or you can even get qualified in multiple states to carry a concealed weapon on your person, which is always advantageous. Now, they offer a couple other services for everybody, one of which is Ladies Night. Ladies Night is every Tuesday night, and ladies shoot for free, so fellas, it's a really good date night idea, or if you just want to go out with your girlfriends, hey, go have a blast. One of the coolest things that they offer is machine gun rentals. I mean, how awesome is that? Who doesn't want to shoot a full auto weapon? I know I do. Now they also offer memberships. Memberships start at $275 a year for civilians or $225 a year for military and law enforcement. Now I am a member there, and I have to say, if you shoot as frequently as I do, a membership is a really good idea. It saves you a ton of money, and of course they provided the firearm in today's video to me free of charge, so I really have to thank them a lot. And if you want to support both me and them, head on down to American Firearm School and let them know that Aaron sent you. So the Glock 19 Generation 5 is a 9mm semi-automatic striker fired handgun. The overall length from muzzle to beaver tail is 7.2 inches. The overall height is 5.04 inches from the top of the sight to the base plate on the magazine. It is 1.34 inches thick. It has a 4.02 inch barrel. It has a standard capacity of 15 rounds of 9mm, plus one in the chamber, and it weighs about 30 ounces loaded, depending on what brand and weight of ammunition you have in it, but Glock states it's just over 30 ounces loaded. Now, the way I like to review the guns here at Ghost Raptor Gaming and Guns is front to back, top to bottom, talking about the features and caveats of those features as I go, starting with the sights. So let's get right into it. The sights on the Glock 19 Gen 5 are the standard Glock sights that you're used to seeing on any Glock that you've ever handled. It has a white dot front sight and a rear sight notch, which is dovetailed in, and it has, of course, that white bar that you see on all Glock sights, and I'll show you a close-up right here in case you don't know what I'm talking about. Now, the sights themselves are made of polymer. Some people have gripes about that. I think it's fine. I actually like Glock sights, and I've never had any issues with them. They are durable and accurate. Equal height, equal light is easy to achieve, and I like Glock sights, and they gave me no problems during the 500 round testing of the gun. Moving down from there, we do have some scalloping at the front of the slide, which is present right there, and that's just basically for ease of holstering or reholstering the firearm, and it's a nice touch that Glock has kind of put on the gun versus their older generations where it was much more squared off at the front. Moving back, you have your slide serrations. Now they are the same on the front as they are on the back. Now generally I'm not a huge fan of front slide serrations because I think they cost a little bit more. They drive the cost to manufacture up, and they encourage you to put your hand near the front of the muzzle, which is something that I'm not really a fan of. But if you're into press checks or you like to use them to help you disassemble or reassemble the firearm, they are present, and I think it really just has to do with cost of manufacture for Glock. The Gen 5 MLS versions have, of course, the optics cut in the plate system that interfaces with the slide, and they have front and rear slide serrations on them anyways. So just by putting them on the slides and then taking these slides to get milled for optics later, probably saves them a little bit of money and a little bit of time. And of course, there is no problems with them whatsoever. They're deep. You get good grip on them. They're easy for you to manipulate. I didn't have any problems with that whatsoever. Now we also have your extractor on this side, which doubles as a loaded chamber indicator, and it's right here. Now the way that works is when a round is in the chamber, it actually pushes the extractor outwards ever so slightly, and you can actually feel that protrusion off the side of the slide with your index finger, letting you know immediately whether there's a round in the chamber or not. Now, moving down slightly, we have, of course, our single slot pick rail adapter on the front of the gun right there, which is typical for most Glocks. They've basically always had that, except for very limited models that they've had multi-slot pick rails on. Works just fine. I didn't have any issues with it. I wouldn't expect you to have any issues with it either. Just something to note. Moving back from there, you have your little disassembly tabs that are on the side, and of course there is a little groove right here that you can use as a memory pad for your trigger finger, and you don't have to worry about it spontaneously disassembling itself if you depress one side down accidentally, as you have to push both down to disassemble the firearm. So it is a nice little feature to have. Moving back from there, we have an ambidextrous slide release. It's present on both sides, and it actually works really well. That's something that it's kind of hit or miss basically from gun to gun. Some Glocks that I've used, I depressed the slide lock and it was extremely stiff and very flat, and my thumb simply slid off of it and it didn't engage the slide lock, requiring me to actually manually operate the slide to chamber the next round on the reload. However, on this particular Glock 19 Gen 5, they're a little bit wider. They're slightly different than your typical Gen 3 or Gen 4 slide locks, and they work absolutely fine for me. My reloads were quick and I didn't have any issues. And again, if you're left-handed, it's ambidextrous, so there it is. And then you of course have a standard beaver tail that you'll always get on your Glock right there. No problems with it whatsoever. Speaking of beaver tail, there is of course an interchangeable back strap system on the Glock 19 Gen 5s, which is something that they implemented in the Gen 4 systems as well. And it's basically as simple as driving out a little pin at the back of the grip right there, adding whichever back strap you want, and then putting the pin back in. They have a couple different sizes, and then they have a couple in different sizes that have an extended beaver tail in case you've got big paws on you and you're worried about that slide bite. Now, moving down from there, let's talk about our trigger guard. So our trigger guard is honestly just fine. It's slightly elongated, so if you do have gloves on, you can still get your trigger finger in there, and I didn't have any problems with it. Now the front of the trigger guard actually has some horizontal serrations on it, so if you like to put your support hand index finger around that to help mitigate your recoil, you do have a little bit of texturing there. Of course, you're not going to be able to do that if you have a weapon weight on there or a laser, whatever, what have you mounted to it. Now, it does have an undercut, which is present at the rear of the trigger guard where it meets the actual grip, and it's actually quite good. It does allow you to get your hand a little bit higher onto the gun and help mitigate that recoil with a proper grip. I like the trigger guard. Again, no issues with it whatsoever. You do have a little bit of scalloping here that's actually molded into the frame of the gun right here on the grip, and that just allows it to be a little more comfortable. It's a good place to rest your thumb, and that relief cut helps you reach the trigger a little bit easier. Not that it's really a problem anyways. Now, the actual magazine release, which is just behind it, is elongated. It has some vertical serrations on it, and I didn't have any issues with the magazine release whatsoever. Mag strap free, it's easy to reach, even when I have smaller hands and I can still reach it without really breaking my grip, which is a nice touch. It is reversible, so again, lefties, you're gonna have a good time with this gun because you do have that ambidextrous slide release. And then again, as you can see, right here, you can actually reverse the magazine catch if you want. Now, the grip itself is a bit of a departure from the Generation 3 or the Generation 4 Glock 19s that you typically see in the fact that they don't have finger grooves. What they did was, on the Gen 4, they went to this squared off texturing that you see all the way around the grip, and you can see it right here. And they removed the finger grooves, and they just put that same texturing right there on the front strap, and I actually like it quite a bit. Not that the finger grooves ever really made a difference for me in general. I didn't even notice them really when I was shooting any kind of Glock. But it allows the grip to feel a little bit smaller, and again, the texturing is really good on the fingers. And of course, that's on your back strap as well, and it's present on the additional back straps that you can put on here. I'm not a huge fan of the backstrap system of the Glock 19 Gen 4 and Gen 5 simply because you're adding something on and then securing it with a pin. It's almost like an afterthought, and it feels a little chintzy to me. There is significant flex in them, whereas other pistols will have a removable backstrap where you drive a pin out, actually physically remove it, and then put a different one into a slot and then pin it in place. And those always feel a little bit better to me. That being said, I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't add a back strap to this, so it's not a huge deal for me, but your mileage may vary. Now, at the bottom of the grip itself, you will note that there's flaring. The flaring is external as well as internal, and you can see it right here, externally, and it provides you with a little bit more of a secure grip. Now, on the inside, you can see it right there. It does extend all the way around the magazine well, and it just really speeds up your reloads. I mean, it's just very intuitive. Not that a double stack single feed magazine like this ever really gives you a hard time when you're reloading, but just having that little bit of flaring is a nice touch, and it does speed up your reloads. So it is a feature that I do really like a lot on modern pistols. It's the additional mag well that I added to my Canik Mete SF. I really like that. So I really like the fact that this has it built right in as well. Now, the magazines are traditional Glock 19 magazines. They have a capacity of 15 rounds, an orange follower. They do have the witness holes in the back, so you can check your capacity on the fly, and the standard polymer Glock marked base plates on there. They work fine, and they protrude just enough that you can really grab a hold of the magazine if you need to strip it out if you have some sort of issues. And there's just a little bit of a relief cut in the back of the grip as well, as you can see right here. That just makes that a little bit easier. And now on to the part that everybody loves to see, it's the trigger. But before I do that, I should mention, of course, that I have a Patreon and a Buy Me a Coffee as well. So if you want to support the channel, a little bit goes a long way when it comes to all those little things that add up to a lot. Ammunition, targets, that kind of stuff that I buy myself. You guys really help me out when you contribute to that, and I appreciate your support. Again, links in the description. So let's talk about the trigger. So it has a pretty much standard Glock trigger that you're used to seeing or feeling or using these days. It, of course, has the little blade safety that you see on the front of the trigger right here, and it is polymer construction. Very much standard for a Glock, and I didn't have any issues with the trigger. Let's take a look at that trigger press. So you've got that blade safety right there. Once that's out of the way, you have a little bit of take up. It's about 2.5 millimeters. Then you hit a fairly solid wall, and then you have actually a pretty crisp break for a Glock. A lot of people complain that Glock triggers feel a little spongy. This one actually feels pretty good. And here's your reset in case you're into that kind of thing. It's short, it's crisp, it's audible, it's tactile, and again, that trigger press one more time, breaks right at 5.5 pounds. Now, and again, one more time, here's your reset. There you go. So now Glock does have a new version of their trigger that they provide to customers if they want. You can go on their website and order it, and it will drop right into the Glock, and it's actually supposed to be an improvement. I don't have any trigger time on that version, so I can't actually say anything about that, but I really don't think there's anything wrong with a standard Glock trigger. It's a good trigger, and let's talk about accuracy as a result. I mean, you got good ergonomics, you have a good grip, you have good controls, you have a good trigger, and so the accuracy was pretty good, as you can see right here. Inch to 1.5 groups was pretty standard, but inch happened more often than not, and it wasn't hard to get those groups from 7 yards standing, which is the distance and position I always do my testing from. So the gun is accurate. Let's talk about reliability. So I put 500 rounds through this gun of various ammos and weights, typically 115 or 124 grain full metal jacket, and surprise, surprise, the gun was 100% reliable. We're going to get into disassembly and reassembly, and I'll show you how that goes. But again, it's very standard Glock. It's very simple, but let's go through the process for those who are not familiar with it. Anyways. Disassembly and reassembly of the Glock 19 Gen 5 is pretty simple. Start by removing your magazine, then push up on your slide release and lock the slide to the rear. Ensure there's no ammunition in the pistol so that you're safe. Then you can release your slide, point it in a safe direction, and pull the trigger. Once this is done, you can pull your slide back ever so slightly, just like this, and push down on your slide locking tabs, and that will release the slide and allow you to push it off of the frame. Once that's done, push your double captive recoil guide rod assembly forward and remove it like so. Same thing for your barrel. Just unlock it, push it forward, and pull it out. And there you go. You have one field stripped Glock 19 Gen 5 ready to be serviced. Now, just as a side note, if we take a look at the slide here, you can see that it's free of defects and machine marks, and the finish is quite good. It's obviously a very high quality slide. Now let's take a look at the frame, and you can see it's a basic Glock frame, and again, it's very high quality. Now to reassemble your pistol, you just do the same things in opposite order. Push your barrel in and forward, and then lock it in place rearward. Same thing with your guide rod assembly, just push that forward and lock it in place. Once you have that done, upend it, line up your slide rails with both the slide and the frame, and pull it all the way to the rear, ensuring that it locks in place. Then do your function check. And once your function check is complete, you can go ahead and reinsert your magazine, and you're done. So as you can see, the gun is easy to disassemble and reassemble. It's accurate, it's reliable. I mean, what are my overall thoughts on the Glock 19? It's really no surprise that the Glock 19 is the #1 handgun in the world. It's owned by more civilians than any other pistol. It's used by more law enforcement officers than any other pistol, and it's used by more militaries than any other pistol. It's #1 handgun in the world for a reason. It's accurate, reliable, durable, and it comes in at a reasonable price. They are getting a little more expensive these days. They're typically running about $650. But despite that, I think you do get a lot for your money. And would I buy one? Yes, I actually would, and I do plan on getting one in the future. The Glock 19 is awesome. And I think that's going to do it for us today. This has been Aaron with Ghost Rapper Gaming and Guns. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.